Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon from Sweden, and welcome to this month's live stream. I'm so excited. I'm looking forward to these 30 minutes with you guys. Let's kick this session off. And I know a lot of you guys are tuning in, so please let us know, is the sound working? Are you excited? Show yourself in the comment section and let's begin the fun. Okay, I see you people. I see you. It's so much more fun when we do this together. As you all probably know by now, my name is Sarah. I'm a part of Adway, and we do automated recruitment marketing and social media to enable a 24/7 storytelling to attract and convert your most desired candidates. And to get the energy going, feel free to already now get your questions going in the comment section because we want to answer them live. So just hit the questions there. And I'm so thrilled to present and announce or welcome the guest of the show today, Andreas from Aon Assessment. Welcome, Andreas.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah.
I'm so excited for this session. And for you who doesn't know this, Andrea specializes in the recruitment of trainees, graduates, and young talents. And he has done a lot of research into the candidate experience. So today we're going to dig into what the science actually say. And as always, don't forget to comment summary to get your hands on all the sources and all the key takeaways. So always comment summary and we will follow up to get you the full summary from this session. Enough from me, Andreas. Should we pretend like I know nothing about you and
Yeah.
just let you introduce who you are, who Aon Assessment are, and what you do in the space of TA?
Okay, so thank you so much for letting me on this platform. My name is Andreas Talian, and I work as a psychologist at Aon Assessment Solutions Sweden. So I'm part of the Swedish team. So we are about 20 psychologists that only work with recruitment and development of clients. So
Yeah.
we're consultants, really. So
Ah.
what Aon Assessment Solution does, we are a global assessment provider, and we help global clients to achieve their business goals by recruiting in an objective and science-based way. We
Mm.
also we always try to be data-driven and follow the science behind recruitment.
I like the sound of that. Definitely, definitely. That's why we're
Yeah,
partners, basically. We
yeah.
like to be data driven and measure potential as early as possible.
Mm,
And Andreas, today we're gonna give away our 5 keys to attract young talents and make them
mm,
stay.
mm.
And I mean, what's there to wait about? Should we dig into the key number one?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Let's
So
go.
we have identified 5 central keys to attract, to hire, and to keep young talents.
Mm.
So these are sort of the 5 keys that we will be touching upon today. And let's start. So the
Let's
number
start.
one key, the first key, is to make sure that you have a strong employer brand.
Uh-huh.
And I think that the majority of the people listening to this, they already know what an employer brand is. So it is how you communicate your values and your business strategy to people, and especially to your candidates.
Mm.
And the ultimate list of employer brand statistics from LinkedIn, they made a study and that said that companies with a strong employer brand, they see 50% more qualified applicants. They
Definitely.
are 1 to 2 times faster to actually hire a candidate. And they're also 3 times more likely to hire a quality hire. So investing in a strong employer brand seems to really sort of boost the quality of candidates.
Mm.
That's what we also want to see.
Mm.
So, but the follow-up question to that is, well, then what is a strong employer brand
Yeah.
according to the new talents entering the market, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, no, I was just
Yeah.
like, yeah, what is actually a great employer brand?
Yeah.
So
So we
excited.
have these new talents entering the talent market, right? We have the Gen Z, the sort of digital native generation that's entering the talent market. So what is a strong employer brand according to them? Well, we can see that there are three key topics that seem to motivate the new generation more than anything else, really.
Yeah.
So we have, oh, well, Gen Z, they tend to be motivated by diversity, inclusion, and sustainability.
Mm.
So these three key topics are sort of what drives the motivation behind Gen Z. They want to, and they evaluate employers based on these three sort of key aspects.
Yeah, and this is so exciting because since we're working with programmatic employer branding
Mm,
here at Adway, for us it's just we help employers get these kind of messages out on the right platforms, but also in the exact right moments. So
mm,
with these kind of knowledges and insights, you have to know in what type of stage awareness, consideration, and all
mm,
that will you have to be placing these arguments in front of your audience, so they will make a decision around you as an employer within seconds.
yeah.
So you have to nurture and you have to convince and you have to sell your promise as a company with these three topics. And I
Mm,
mean, talking about sustainability, this
mm,
is like socioeconomics too, right? This is like
yeah.
what kind of commitment do you do
Yeah.
as an employer? Yeah.
Exactly. And you really said that conveying the employer brand, that's where sort of you have to put your energy.
Mm.
So if you want like a concrete tip to how to do that, to make sure that your marketing material actually includes all kinds of people, that it includes persons from minority groups, from like different ages,
Yeah.
different genders, to make sure that all candidates actually feel welcome to apply.
Represented, like they have to be
Exactly.
shown and see they're represented in the workforce and in the images and in the communication that we show off.
Exactly. So there's often the sort of issue that companies, they do work with diversity or sustainability, but they don't communicate it to candidates. So that's sort of the first key. Make sure that you actually communicate it to the candidates.
Correct.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's massive. Was that key number one?
Yeah, that's the key number one. So let's move on to key number two.
Let me just, if anyone has a question on key number one,
Yeah.
fire them off right now in the comment section. We can follow up. Don't be shy. I know HR
Yeah.
people can be a bit, shy and humble. But this time, this is not the humble time. So if
No,
you
don't be humble.
fire away, this is your moment to get them answered. But
Hmm.
okay, let's move on to key number two.
Okay, so key number two is to increase diversity through objective assessments during the recruitment process. So
Ah,
previously we talked about, the importance of working with diversity and to actually have a strong employer brand.
mm,
So now is sort of the the opportunity for companies to communicate their employer brand through action.
yeah.
So make sure that you recruit using objective measures, such as, cognitive ability assessments or personality questionnaires,
Mm,
rather than some traditional recruitment methods, such as, personal letters,
mm,
recommendations, and so forth.
yeah. And
Because
why is that? Just to
yeah,
be super clear, why is that?
because we know that specific selection methods, such as personality letters, CV screening, they
Yeah.
tend to discriminate towards certain kinds of candidates,
Mm,
and they also tend to favor certain kinds of candidates.
yeah.
But what we would like to do is that we would like to reduce the possible effect that the human bias has in the recruitment. So during interviews or during CV screening, there's a heightened risk that the human bias actually um, selects specific candidates, and then they select candidates that will not go further in the recruitment process
Yeah.
based on just a gut feeling. And
Yeah.
we would like to erase that gut feeling as much as
Yeah.
possible.
Definitely. So hands off as soon as possible in the
Mm,
recruitment process, basically.
absolutely. That's a
That's
great way to put it. So traditional methods, they are sort of known to discriminate, and younger generations are also more aware of this.
yeah,
So
they are.
if the Gen Zs, they know that if a company work with traditional recruitment methods that
Mm,
then have a heightened risk of actually discriminating towards certain types of candidates,
yeah.
that could actually damage your employer brand as well.
Yeah, agree.
Mm.
We have a question on key
Yeah,
number one regarding
yeah.
employee branding from Rebecca. She says, what's considered sustainable? Question
Mm.
for number one. Can we just elaborate on the sustainable part?
So sustainable could be anything from working at reducing emissions. It could be working at like a growth sustainable perspective. So what you put in sustainability, it's also up to your company.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically. But
but
it's your value proposition towards society, towards the employment, towards the people, I guess,
yeah,
that take
exactly.
further responsibility not just outside the recruitment process and like the talent mobility.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So, how does your company work with sustainability to help improve society, not only to help your company grow?
Yeah.
That's what
You shouldn't
motivates.
just shout that you're doing it. You should show how you're doing it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Transparency is key.
Exactly.
Perfect. Thank you, Rebecca, for a great question. Okay, so back to key number two then.
Hmm.
If you were to summarize, what's the most important part there?
It is simply to use objective recruitment methods that lowers the risk of the human bias to affect your decision. So
Already
you,
selection, basically.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So use, cognitive ability assessments, personality questionnaires
Mm.
instead of personal letters or CV screening.
Is there science also that candidates appreciate given the same chance all over? Because I've heard some perception saying, hey, we don't want to mess up the candidate or the application process with all these tests or screenings.
Hmm.
But I've seen, this is just, I've read some sources around it, but I guess you guys have more data on it. Like
Hmm.
I've seen candidates appreciate being treated the same way and given the same chance based on potential and knowledge rather
Hmm.
than how many steps they've managed to climb this far. Is that
Yeah,
you've seen?
absolutely. That's correct. So candidates, they tend to actually appreciate a chance of proving what they can do instead
Mm.
of just being rated on what's their current experiences.
Yeah.
And I also have, as we touched upon previously, researched candidate experience in relation to assessment.
Yeah.
And it's actually shown that um, longer assessments
Mm.
tend to improve candidate experience instead of
No.
shorter assessments. Yeah,
So I guess that would, go hand in hand, longer and relevant though, right?
exactly.
So for
That's
instance, if
very
I were
important.
to answer 500 questions about my cat's name, you know, so
Yeah,
the relevancy,
yeah,
perhaps. Yeah.
exactly. So that's sort of the next key actually. So it's a great bridge to the next key.
Yeah.
That is
Number 10,
to
people.
yeah to make sure that you have to invest in a great candidate experience
Yeah.
and sort of
What does that
so the most central part of investing a great candidate experience is relevancy. So you
mean?
have to make sure that the assessments that are included in the recruitment process, that they are perceived to be relevant and valid for the candidates. So you can't just use a bunch of selection methods and then just think that the candidate will understand why you're using them. You also have to communicate why are we
Yeah.
using, let's say, a CV screening. What
Yeah.
are we looking for?
Communicating this already in the application process, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
perfect. Yeah.
So
Transparent.
yeah, exactly. So a study from IBM showed that companies who do invest in candidate experience, they actually improve quality of hire by 70%.
Oh, nice.
So investing in a great candidate experience also tend to boost sort of the quality of the candidate that actually gets the job.
Yeah,
Mm,
definitely. And we on our side making a seamless application process or from
mm,
attract, convince, and seduce and nurture down to the actual hire, when
mm,
then a tool like Aon Assessment would be the one assessing or screening the candidates, you need to have thought through the
mm.
communication, the value proposition. You're selling this
Yeah,
opportunity. This is often made to passive candidates as well. A lot of them, perhaps young talents, are in school already, but have their first jobs or unless they're active. But if they're passive, they don't even have a need from you. They
yeah,
need nothing from you. You have to
mm,
create a value proposition in seconds in a seamless candidate experience. And I don't know if you know, Andreas, but passive talent, they are like 70% of the workforce today, and over 4 billion people spend their time on social media. Hence, that's where if you have a great candidate experience with great type of ads selling the position, nice videos showing young talents growing and succeeding in their role, and they jump into that application process with like a bam in the wall experience, you're losing them. Same
Exactly.
goes for the testing, assessing, and screening. So you have to align this and really take responsibility and build a perfect candidate experience.
Exactly. And you also have to measure it to begin with. So
To know.
a lot of companies, they actually miss out on measuring candidate experience during their recruitment process. So a tip is to use a NPS function or a net promoter score to actually ask candidates, well, how did you perceive our recruitment process? And don't only ask the candidates that actually get the job in the end, because they will have a positive
Yeah,
view
yeah,
on the recruitment process. So
yeah,
ask even the candidates that did not get the role, what did you
yeah.
think about our recruitment process?
Yeah, and you actually mainly focus on the one didn't get the role or didn't
Exactly.
apply. So
Mm.
you have to be very focused on every drop-off stage, basically in the funnel process, and focus your attention on them.
Mm.
We have some questions,
Yeah,
Andreas, before we
yeah.
jump further to the other keys.
Mm.
Let's see. Akbar Majab, he had a question and he elaborated it, so I will explain it to you. Some jobs needs experience, so how
Mm.
do with these jobs? I guess you've heard this before.
Yeah.
Let's just
So
elaborate.
it is true, Akbar, that some positions actually do require experience, but research also show that there's a tendency that, well, across different roles, that experience in years actually isn't that predictive of how you succeed in the role. But for roles that actually do need experience for the candidate to succeed, then I would recommend you to actually include it in the recruitment process, because then it's
Hmm.
valid to actually measure that and then to
Yeah,
take the
a
recruitment.
heart surgeon, perhaps you should have done some operations
Exactly.
before. Yeah, but as you, not to make fun of, but as you mentioned, Andreas, just years of experience or
Yeah.
your experience from 10 years ago won't be predicting what you will be able to achieve in this upcoming role. So you have to be somewhat cautious when you use this as a
Yeah.
screening question, but if it's valid, of course, you should
Hmm.
use it.
Yeah.
So great question there, Akbar. And we have another one from
Hmm?
Carl. Let's see. This is a long one. Let me just read it.
Yeah.
How does the theme in key 2, that the candidate appreciate a chance to show what they can go through unbiased assessment, interact with the fact that the application process with many hurdles lead to reduced candidate follow-through? Do you see that there is a specific profile of candidates that start an application without fulfilling it?
Yes.
Interesting question.
Yeah.
We have to stand
So
on both, Andreas, here.
yeah. So we have seen that the applicants that tend to drop out are applicants that aren't really interested in the job to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And the more steps that they have to go through, the more insight they get about the actual role. So we've seen that longer assessments tend to increase the actual number of quality candidates that finish all of the steps.
Yeah,
But
and you have to have in mind that the assessment comes further down the funnel when we usually, if we've done our job
mm,
right, have a bigger commitment.
yeah,
So what I would focus on would be to actual increase candidate engagement in the
yeah,
absolute first steps. So
mm,
the candidates, the relevant, if you were to use Adway, for instance, you would have relevant candidates already from the beginning, but you
mm,
need to work on the engagement in the first
yeah,
action steps, so they're already committed coming into the assessment. I think that's the difference here. If you
absolutely.
were just have an ad and then bam, run right into questions, people will be like, yeah, I wouldn't date you either if we
Yeah,
were just like, hey, okay, how many, so it's a difference there.
yeah,
between when and how committed and the candidate engagement in the full process. I'm just jumping up and down now.
Absolutely. So it's all about communication. If you put candidates through different types of steps, you do have to say, why are we performing these steps? So
Yeah.
why is it important for us to have our candidates go through all of these steps? So we have
Yeah.
to communicate and create a great candidate experience.
Practice conscious inclusion. I really love that frame.
Absolutely.
You're conscious about getting it right from the beginning.
Yeah.
But great question, Carl. Perfect. Should we jump into the next key then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fourth key is, so previously we touched upon how do you attract young talents, how did you assess young talents, and how do you make them stay in the recruitment process. So the next step we'll touch upon how do you keep young talents once they are hired. So the fourth key is to keep young talents with flexible career paths.
Okay.
And research by the Institute of Student Employers, they have found that 3 years after the finished graduate program, companies tend to lose about 28% of their talents. And that number increases to 44% after 5 years. So most companies, they tend to struggle with actually keeping their candidates within the organization. And the main cause of this loss is the lack of flexible career paths within the organization.
Oh yeah. And is it actual lack, or is it actual presenting the career path? Is it the double?
Probably a combination of both. So we are all familiar with this, upwards ladder climbing career, where you start off as a junior consultant, then a senior consultant, a team leader, and this doesn't really motivate Gen Z as much as flexibility within the work, within the areas of work. So young talents, they tend to relish the prospect of lateral movements rather than this upward ladder climbing process.
Okay.
So, and you can create flexible career paths by creating a job neighborhood map. So let's say you have candidates that work with product development.
Yeah.
And then they say that after a couple of years, they feel that they have done everything they wanted within product development.
Yeah.
Then they're looking for new career paths. Putting that person within, let's say, sales, and they would probably be an excellent salesperson because they have great product knowledge. So by making sure that these young talents, that they can move around within the organization, you increase your chances of actually keeping the young talent.
So not just upwards, being a manager as a next step, but within the horizontal different departments. So, and how, I mean, for an employer, my guessing would be to be proactive with this.
Absolutely.
Right? Not just, oh, well, we might lose her or him, let's give them a chance. Like, work proactively with, hey, we're building talent mobility on this company. We're very concerned with you being able to actually grow and increase your knowledge in our different departments. So how would you go about having a proactive approach to this section?
I would go about with creating this job neighborhood map and then communicating it to candidates or to the young talents and say that, we value what you bring to our organization. If you would like to, you've worked a couple of years within this role. If you'd like to try out new areas of work, you could try on sales, or you could try on customer success or whatever. So that the talent doesn't feel restricted. Because
how can we as an employer know what attributes would be beneficial for doing this move?
So this is, you can team up with an assessment provider to actually get help with this. There's a lot of tools to actually help you map this career path. So exactly. So candidates can rate their interests, what motivates them, and then a combination of that along with their abilities, you could map out which areas of work that they would excel at, and then present those and say, hey, would you be interested in actually working with, let's say, sales?
Proactively work.
Proactive. That's the key word.
Yeah. And I see, we see, I've read, I don't know if the source right now, we can look that up, but I've read
Mm.
that young talents actually look upon their employers as paid education.
Yeah,
That's how fierce the war of talent is. So
yeah,
if you actually provide educational insights into their career paths, you're not interesting anymore. So
yeah.
keep that in mind. That's really,
Right.
really
So if the
important.
needs of the young talent aren't met within the organization, the young talent will likely start to look at
Elsewhere.
opportunities outside the organization.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. And guys, remember, ask all your questions in the comment section and comment summary if you would like all the key takeaways. Time is ticking, so let's
Yeah.
jump into key number 5.
Okay, so the last key is be data driven.
Oh,
That's
I love it.
it really spoke to you, right, Sarah?
It spoke to me. It spoke to me.
Yeah, great. Data it's constantly collected. Every from initial assessment of the candidates to the NPS score that we
Yeah,
talked about in the beginning to actual performance data.
yeah,
Yeah. And these data points, they can be analyzed to offer insights to links and connections within the organization. So, Sarah, if I were to sort of paint a scenario for you,
do it.
we have picture this. You have
Ah,
10 different companies.
yeah.
They have all identified young talents that are exceptional at their job.
Mm.
How many of these 10 companies would you say are actually using data points to improve their processes?
I actually tend to see companies being data storages.
Mm,
Mhm. And not just on the IT department, they're storing data and
yeah.
not using the data. So I'm
Mm.
guessing 9 out of 10. I don't know.
No, so we have found that our own research has shown that only about 36% of companies and organizations they perceive themselves to be good or great or skilled at leveraging and collecting these kinds of workforce and business data.
Okay.
So let's say that you are a company and you have identified young talents that
Mm,
excel at their job. Wouldn't it be nice to identify what is the key factors of the young talent that drives success?
definitely.
And if we were able to quantify this, then we would be able to recruit new talents based on the findings that we have found.
Correct.
Yeah. So, and this whole process of evaluating your processes, it could be extremely difficult as a company because you're busy with other
Mm,
things, really. So, my final tip is to partner up with an assessment provider that could help you with this,
mm,
that could actually help you sort of leverage your data to
mm.
improve your processes and to, help the upcoming hiring decisions to meet the business and the strategy goals that you have at your company.
Yeah. Do you have any examples that you've seen make a successful hire? Could you share
Yeah,
something with us?
so we had a Swedish customer that worked with salespeople, and
Mm,
they sort of identified. They gathered all of the exceptional sellers, and they said, "Well, what does these sellers have in common?"
mm,
And then they found that the sort of key factor behind their success it was their personality. So they were outgoing, they were ambitious, so then when they started to recruit new sellers based on these personal characteristics,
mm.
they saw that the sales increased dramatically.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Wow. I
So that is
love
one example.
data on this because we know attributes, potential, all
Mm.
of this is relevant, but put data to it, you can even, just go and convince your board. Just go and convince. Use
Yeah,
the summary,
really.
go and convince them.
So you must have a lot of insight on this of being data driven, Sarah.
Definitely, definitely. And it's so true. You should see the amount of employers having data and not
Mm.
utilizing or learning or get better from it. So
Mm.
that's really a key takeaway. Be data driven. You don't have to be tech savvy. You just have
No.
to be tech comfortable. Use the tool that's out there. Do the heavy lifting for you so you can spend time improving and just, hustle with
Mm.
the board and convince them you're doing great job based on
Yeah.
data, and let the tools out there make you do more right than wrong, basically, in the
Yeah.
hiring process. So guys, if you have any more questions of this topic, now is your moment. Don't forget to comment summary if you would like
Mm.
all key takeaways and sources. But Andreas, if we were to
Mhm.
wrap up your
Yeah,
most important key takeaway, so people love, a good summary. If you were to
yeah,
just say these, if not anything else, would be the most
mm,
important parts to take with you from this session.
yeah. So the most important part of attracting young talents is to make sure that you as a company work with things that motivates them. So make
Mm,
sure that you work with diversity by actually having a recruitment process that is objective, that is sort of gives candidates a fair shot at
yeah.
getting the role. And
Mm,
also make sure that you are data driven. So make sure that you use data to your advantage. And as you said, don't only store data, but make sure to actually use it and to leverage it.
yes.
That's and to make that easier for you, team up with an assessment provider that could help you with that to
Yeah.
leverage that data. That's my
Or if
two.
not, just go and demo the tools out there. Make them do the work for you. They will
Exactly.
happily show you how this could increase the your process basically and make you better hire. So go
Yeah.
out there, demo some great new tools. There's solutions out there. You can't just sit back and be like facts ignorant. You have to actually be curious about this. And
Yeah.
I'm sure, Andreas, both you and I are open to questions if people want to reach out to us on LinkedIn.
Of course.
Perfect, perfect. Well, that will be the ending words for this session. Thank you so much, Andreas, for joining on the show. Thank you to everyone being with us live, for commenting and engaging and showing us all the energy. And I look forward seeing you next month with another live stream coming up. Bye
Bye.
bye.